To Chandler's channel. I'm Tracy, your host, with your intuitive weekly reading for March 3rd to 9th, 2014. Thanks for being here. I'll go get Whitehawk, my spirit guide, whom I consciously channel in just a moment. But as always, I like to touch back on the previous week to see what parallels have arisen. Now, last week's reading was actually pretty profound, because we were journeying on the very arduous and cold waters of our life and working towards our goals and our desired outcomes. And Jesus, stepped into the picture, and he gave us some words of support, some words of guidance. And, he had said that don't give up your will to live, and do not lose faith in me. Those are some pretty big things. It seems, I guess, we're having a hard time. Add the upcoming equinox energies, and it's just really chaotic, right? Plus the end of winter. Wow, what a crazy time when you think about it. At least for us here in the Northern Hemisphere. So if there's anybody listening from Australia, maybe the cycle's not the same for you with having the summer months, but maybe you're still feeling the crazy energies of the equinoxes. And in moving forward in your desired outcomes and your goals, perhaps you're feeling the arduousness of your journey as well. So it can relate, and there are many ways that it can relate to all of us. And so Jesus came to us, giving us lots of support, saying, if we knew how close we were, we wouldn't give up, and that to look for those little cracks of light throughout our journey before we arrive in that big beam of sunlight and love when we do arrive where it is that we want to get to. So for me in my own personal life, yeah, I think it was a tough life. I mean, if I can share personally with you, there was one time, I felt like I was journeying on those waters, and it was so dark, and I was just so tired, because the waters were so choppy and so cold, and I felt so alone, and I was just tired of getting whipped in the face by the water, right? That I was just so deflated. I was on, my raft, and I'm using this as a metaphor, right? I was on my raft, deflated, and I'm just looking up and going like, I'm done. We're dealing with the equinox energies. If you're a female, maybe you're premenstrual. Add all that together, and you get a definitely a cocktail of sorts, right? I was not going to say deadly or lethal because it's not very nice. So you got to work through all that, and so I was just lying there one day and I had it, and I was talking to JC, my spirit guides, and the tears were just flowing out of me, and I was going to stop doing my videos, and I was going to stop doing this, and that's it. I was giving up on that, and or not even giving up, just like, I've had my run, I'm done, the synchronicity is not there for me, so maybe it's time for me to try something else, is what I was sort of in that kind of mood, and so the big cry happens, and I'm like, that's it, I'm done. and then I rest after the cry, and then I get up, and I was rejuvenated because I had released all that stuff, as opposed to eating it and feeling awful and having all that blocked energy. And not only that, in regards to me, I get very irritable if I don't let it out. So let's just say, by me holding it in, it's a lot worse than the big ugly pity party, right? Self-pity party that I have. So if I have that pity party, then I can get up and I can move again. And so that's what it became, and I got, I felt renewed and energized, and I could move forward and come back and do my videos, regardless of coming up to my 1-year anniversary and, 50 subscribers and so on and so forth, because really doing these videos has given me more than what if you were to monetize it against subscribers and viewers. There's not a lot of views, there's not a lot of subscribers, but for me, the benefits and what I have learned from this have been invaluable, and the things that have opened up for me from this have been invaluable, and the teachings and the healings that I'm learning from Whitehawk have been invaluable. So I have to look at it that way, and so that's where I'm going with this, and I certainly hope in 2 years that I have more than 100, right? I mean, I don't hope to double it by 50. I hope there is 100, because then I'll probably really take a look at it and say, okay, no, it's definitely time to sail down a different river or lake, is the way I would look at it. So that's just letting you in on a little bit of insight of how, my waters were troubled, right? If I can use that analogy. And it was Simon and Garfunkel. Last week I couldn't remember Garfunkel's name. How awful, right? A bridge over troubled waters. That's it. Bygones are bygones. We're moving forward even through the equinoxes. So have that big ugly cry. Have that pity party. And, let's get on with it. Make that decision. You're moving forward in whatever direction. So that's me. Okay. I'm sharing my pity party with you. Okay. Let's go get Whitehawk and see what's on tap for our March 3rd to 9th week. Indeed. And immediately as I was connecting, I just feel this wash of sadness, like it's such profound sadness that I just feel like I could break down crying right now. Yes, child. There will be much sadness in your world and in or around the world around you. He says, for those around you. And the reason I bring such news, he says, is simply because it will not be the most joyful or joyous of occasions. And although there is much to be learned in this week from the events that will occur, what I will say to you about this week to you and to our friends listening is that I cannot dice it and cut it up any other way than you will have to go through this week. There's no choice, he says, for one cannot stop time. So therefore one must persevere and move through the waters of difficulty, he says, to come through to the other side. And so I know many of you are worried now as what could possibly go wrong that would be so awful to create so much sadness. And he says, and for each and every one of you, it will be very different. But for this one, he says, I do believe she will need some help getting up. And so if you could help her get up as a parent of hers, he says, whether grandparent or not, he says, I am asking for your help. Now, of course, me as Tracy, I'm like, going, okay, here we go again. Either Whitehawk is going to be completely wrong and make a complete fool of me, or something awful might happen, and well, heck, I don't like either outcome, right? This is not good for me. And he says, yes, indeed. And he takes me over to, and I almost feel like this is more private reading, and I'm wondering if I should turn off the video. And he says, no, child, allow it to run, he says, because for many of the others listening, they will benefit from the healing and teaching involved in this. And so Whitehawk is with me, and he takes me by my shoulders, and he comforts me, and we walk over to an area where we can sit down. And we sit down, and now my stomach, as I'm doing this reading, is getting very upset because, well, one does not like to be delivered such information. And it's causing me to be upset. And He says, but you are upset for a very good reason. He says, because what is about to come your way is coming as one of your last rites of passage as you move forward into your new life as a healer. And I go, yeah. I'm very well aware of many of the things I've had to go through to arrive at this point in time in my life. And he says, but now you are going to arrive at one of your very last destinations, or go through one of your very last rites of passage, he says, in order to arrive at your destination. And so I lie down on the bench that we're at, and he just, I'm resting, and he comforts me, and then it's funny, so I'm resting, and now he directly looks up at you guys into the video, and he almost comes really, really close to the video, so his face is in the video, and he's speaking to you guys. He says, she will need you, he says. She will need you. So knock 3 times, he says. For indeed, she will need you. She will need your well wishes. She will need your support. She will need your love. For indeed, she will need her next of kin as well to be with her as she journeys through this very arduous week. And so he is pleading with you guys as the audience, and well, you're more than an audience. You are his children, right? You are his students. And he says, so please do not abandon her in such a state, he says, when it arrives. So, although your week will be challenging, children, he says her week will be more challenging. So allow yourself in the ebb and flow of life and nature to, well, to stabilize you, to help you through it. Remember when we spoke of being the light? It says, I will need you to be the light. As you journey in your own arduous waters, he says, I will need you to be the light for this one in the upcoming week. That is all, my children. That is all. And so he walks back to me and stays with me. And now I'm kind of like shaking as I shake. And not know if I'm resting as much as I'm just sort of shaking. Right. Thank you. Wow. Try to be like me, giving a reading for all of us, right? But then the reading becomes about me, and I have to hold on, right? Because, you know, I could easily go into the emotion and the fear and the trauma of, Jesus, what the heck is going to happen to me this week, right? And if you listen back to the May 2013 reading, Whitehawk again had made, saying that something was going to happen that was tragic. And he was not right immediately in May or June. He was right 3 months later, when I would tragically lose a friend in a train and bus crash. So it took 3 months. And oftentimes I say this about readings, right? That it may not be exactly in this week, March 3rd to 9th. And so I'll let this go. I could be humbled. I might be extremely wrong. And those are the lessons of being a channeler, or a tarot card reader, or angel card reader, or anything like that, is that, you know, I had a teacher who said that you have to be willing to be right, but you also have to be willing to be wrong. So, you know, you got to eat humble pie every now and then. And I mean, free will isn't guaranteed, right? It's you cannot control someone's free will. The different things can happen. So something can change, right? But right now, as the energies, as we're speaking, this is why he's saying it. But things can change. But I also have to be willing to be right, right? But I also know that maybe it's 3 weeks from now, 3 months, things seem to be for threes with me, like 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, right? They seem to go for me. So let's hold on and hope that, you know, I'm not sitting on a bench shaking from nerves, I guess it would seem like, or shock or something. Yeah, move forward and see what comes to light, and see what light I can shed for you by saying, hey, it didn't happen, woohoo, phew, you know, outran that one, and say, geez, Whitehawk, how often do you expect to embarrass me and humiliate me here on YouTube, right? And we'll move forward through it and see if it was a sad week, and see, you know, throughout the world, or just in our own life, or maybe how we're feeling if we became very depressed this week, or so on and so forth. So let's not worry, and that includes me. Okay, so Thursday is our intuitive weekly vlog, and I'm going to do it on self-care. So we'll see. Maybe I'll need some self-care come Thursday of next week. Okay, thanks for listening. Subscribe so you can find me in the sea of YouTubers and not lose me, because I know I do with when I'm looking for tutorials on various topics. God bless. I'm Tracy for a channel.